grandbaby's listening to that rap crap. When Cynthia called me and told me she was pregnant, it made me totally sick to my stomach. I feel like my daughters have forgot the way I raised them, and I do not appreciate the way they live. Mixed breeds are not in my family, and now we have a black baby on the way.
So I ran across this video, and I have to say that nothing about this video really even surprised me. The day and time that we are living in, a lot of things are just covered. And I'm not going to say most Caucasian people are like this. I'm not going to even say that a lot of them are. But I know that there are people that have this view. And it's not just Caucasian people. It is people of all races and ethnicities, including African American people. I believe there is an unspoken hierarchy when it comes to race. We call this sometimes, quote unquote, white privilege. And I think it exists because of our history. It's there. I'm going to tell you about a situation. About 17 years or so ago, I had a friend. I considered her a friend. She was a coworker. We sat together. We went to lunch together every day. I had been to her house. I remember one time we were discussing a magazine. I pulled out a magazine, and there was a African American celebrity male, and he was married to a Caucasian lady. And I mentioned that he had left his wife, and quickly, without even realizing it, she said, "And he left her?" And I kind of think she realized what she said. She turned around, and I realized what she said, and I kind of looked at her differently after that. And I don't know if I would consider her a racist. It just really depends on what definition you're looking at, because racism is described in many different ways. If we go on a really basic definition, it's just a person who shows or feels discrimination or prejudice against people of other races, or who believes that their race is superior. So by that definition, yes, I would classify it as racism. Is she a racist in the terms of, do I think she's hateful or angry or hostile when it comes to African American people? No, I don't think she is at all. And I think that we kind of blur those two things. We put people in a category as racist versus bias. And there is a psychology test out there that reveals these biases. Take a look.
The implicit association test, or IAT, can reveal racial and gender biases you might not even know you have. Here's how it works. The test asks you to rapidly group a series of images and words. For instance, in one section of the race IAT, you press a certain key whenever you see a white face or a positive word. You press another key if it's a black face or a negative word. And you have to react as fast as you can. In another section, the associations are reversed. White faces go with negative words, while black faces are grouped with positive words. It turns out that 70% of test takers, white and non-white, respond more slowly when grouping black faces with positive words. The test calls this an automatic preference for white people.
And again, it's not just Caucasian people that have these biases. There is African American people that have these biases. I believe that they relate these things because of what we see in the media, what we know in history, everything. That is why we have these biases. So what do I believe we can do to prevent from passing this down from generation to generation? I think we need to stop with the stereotypes. And when I say stereotypes, I know in our minds we're going to categorize certain things. It's just natural. We put things in categories so we can understand them. But when we talk about these things and speak it as if it was true, when we say, oh, all black people do this, all white people do that, that is when it becomes an issue, because we lump everybody together instead of saying that people do this or people do that. We actually have more similarities than differences. We all have the same goal: going to work every day, trying to raise our families. The only difference is our plight. And why is that? It's because of the stereotypes, racism. It's because of the different experiences we have because of what's shoved down our throats every day. Which brings me to number 2. I don't like using the terms black and white. Just the dichotomy of the word itself. I don't like using those terms because black people, first of all, are not black, and white people are not white, but yet we want to refer everything that is associated with that word, we associate it with the person. Okay, I just think that we really need to forget about race altogether. And I'm not a history buff at all. I think more of the psychology behind an issue. But even when you think back to colonization, that is when race, as we know it, came to be. And why was that such an important factor? What it boiled down to is it determined if you were going to be a slave or not. And then fast forward, it determined your voting rights and what water fountain you were going to drink out of. But now, here we are in today's time where everyone is equal. Why now are we still making that separation? When you're filling out an application, what is your race? When you're filling out a health form, what is your race? When you're describing someone, oh, was she white or black? We're constantly making that separation. And I think now it's not about if you're going to be a slave or not, if you're going to have voting rights or not. Now it's more about how you're going to fit in with society. We're telling our children, you're this and you're that, in school. And even it's so obsessive where a person of mixed race, there is so much hostility toward them because they want to identify as both races, or they may want to identify as one race. I mean, it really, when it boils down, it does not matter. It's just skin tone. And I don't want anyone to think that I'm saying that we should not have these conversations. I think that we should. This brings me to my final issue. We have to listen in a way that we're not casting judgment. Clearly, you can see that this woman does not have any clue that she is doing anything wrong. And these ideas are passed down from her parents. And she's going to pass these things down to her children. Just because her daughters are dating African American men does not mean that the battle is over. Even if you look at the show, the girl said, I don't talk black, or I don't dress black. And the boyfriend had to point out what is dressing black and what is talking black. These same ideas are still in her head of what an African American person should look, talk, sound like, what they do. We still are stereotyping a particular group. And when she have her children, the idea she passed down is going to cause another issue: colorism. And this is what happens when we teach our children the whiter the skin, the better. And don't think as a Caucasian person, this doesn't have a negative impact on you. It also has a negative impact on you because when you're pushed back in a corner and when you have to watch every word you say, everything that you do, because you can be deemed as a racist, that is an issue as well. Along with other issue, it impacts everybody. So to sum it all up, I think that we should really consider doing away with race itself. So let me know if you agree. Let me know your thoughts on this. All right, guys, thanks for listening.